Good afternoon, friends. It's Friday, April 17th, 2020. I'm Cynthia McBride, the pastor of First Christian Church in Portland, Oregon. I'm sitting on my front porch, just got back from a walk with the dog. It is a beautiful spring day here in Portland. It's sunny and even warm. I was amazed on our walk this evening, how many different flowers were in bloom. I found myself thinking about the diversity of creation. I walked by an ornamental cherry tree with roughly pink blossoms. I passed a dogwood with its petals in the form of a white cross. I saw a tulip in a neighbor's yard that was purple, lavender shades, gorgeous, ruffled, multi-layered. It's amazing how diverse plants are one from another. And yet they all need soil and nutrients, sun and water. In the spring they bloom. In the summer they're green and strong. And then in the winter, many turn brown and drop their leaves and go dormant to begin the cycle again. I've been thinking about the diversity of our human family as we live through this strange cycle of a pandemic. Many people in many nations are having similar experiences. Experiences in spring now of what feels like a spiritual fall or winter, a time of darkness and uncertainty, and yet in the midst of that there is hope that spring will bloom again for our souls just as it does in the world around us. I've been thinking about the diversity of the human family here in our own country. On the street where I live, I have neighbors standing across from me, one on a porch at one house and one on a porch at another. Children gathered around, they're talking quietly back and forth. Some of our neighbors on this street are from India or have ancestors who were. And some have recently migrated from China. Others have European ancestry. It's a wonderful street, a wonderfully diverse neighborhood. In some ways, to me, it represents the best of America, how our country is a nation that has welcomed so many people through the years from so many different places. Yet sometimes that diversity is hard. This pandemic, in some ways, is highlighting differences in the human family. This week, I read an article about an incident that happened locally. A group of young adults gathered in a park very close together, not observing social distancing, and someone walking by was feeling uncomfortable. They had a mask on, and they just spoke to these young adults just to check if they were aware of what's going on, and the response was not respectful. Hurtful things were said about, well, why are you wearing a mask? The person who had the encounter was trans and felt more isolated because of the confrontation. Many individuals in the GLBTQA family face prejudice that those who are born of a normative cisgender straight background may not be able to fully understand. What is it like to walk in fear sometimes just because of who you are and how people respond to you because you're different and they don't understand? During this pandemic, it is clear in cities across the country that there is a disproportionate amount of suffering among many ethnic communities, some of it caused by prejudice and some of it caused by systemic racism. Compared to population groups, there's a disproportionate amount of death among African Americans, which highlights the disparity of racial inequality, a lack of health care, of general access to life in its fullest for many of our citizens. This disparity was present before the pandemic, but the urgent need for quality health care is making it more evident. Earlier, when things were first unfolding in this country, there were horrific acts of racism against Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Pacific Islanders, against people who appear to be Asian, following statements by some that it's a Chinese virus, which is such a silly statement. It's a virus afflicting humanity. To me, what should be a beautiful thing, our diversity, for some becomes a cross to bear, a burden and a weight throughout life. For others, the differences, instead of being beautiful, are frightening or causes for hate. We must be careful that a virus afflicting cells in the human body does not also become a virus of hate, plaguing the human family with even worse violence and racism than we have seen before. As I was walking today and looking at the flowers and marveling at the variety of creation and thinking about the diversity of my own neighborhood, I found myself being grateful again for those who are on the front lines of the coronavirus, those who every day keep city streets safe, clean corridors in hospitals and grocery stores, stock shelves with food, walk into ICU rooms, either to treat a patient on a ventilator or to hold up a tablet for FaceTime so that a loved one can connect. I'm so thankful for the diversity of people working in different ways to bring healing and hope, to keep the world as safe as we can. Diversity. It has so much potential for beauty and wonder. May it not divide us, but be a blessing. Amen.